Okay, thank you, Jesse. Welcome, everyone, to the City of Merritt Regular Council meeting, Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Inca Kappa and Silk people. Late items, I see none. Public input, do we have any? Thank you. Adoption of minutes, 4.1, Regular Council meeting minutes, March 24th, 2026. We have a recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on March 24th, 2026 be adopted. Councillor Egan, Councillor uh, uh, Baxter. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a long day. Any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Opposed? Moving on to 5.1. Merritt under 13 hockey team, which we see out here tonight. And I want to read something for you. So this team won the OMAHA, which is Okanagan Mainline Amateur Hockey Association, the Thompson Caribou League, February 21st. They achieved the Thompson Caribou League champions regular season. And on March 1st, at the Thompson Caribou Playoff Tournament champion, they won 5 games. I'm not sure how many they won, but we're going to say all 5. What the heck? Why not? So we want to recognize the under 13 team for the accomplishments. And I think we don't recognize our local heroes as much as we should. So tonight, I would like to read out the names. And when I call your name, if you could just kind of come up, and who's ever got the banners, bring them with you. So we have Captain Nico Thu. Where's Nico? Oh, you'll be joined in a minute. Assistant Captain Jackson Fader. Assistant Captain Morgan Pickering. Goalie Joseph McDougall. We also have Alex Yastrzemski. Antonio Martins. Beck Williams. Thank you. Okay, Bryden Michelle. Okay. Carter Ham. Cormary Big Eagle. Eden Montreal. Ava Montreal. Farah Charters. Joseph Simons. Keegan Holmes. Ryan Steele. I want to introduce the coaches as well, and they can come up as well. Head coach Jesse Thu. Assistant coach Brock Fader. Assistant coach Clint Holmes. Manager Rebecca Fader. And safety person Thomas Wilms. So if we could get a picture of you guys with the banners out, so we can see the banners and you guys all get crowded in. Oh, it's hey, that's the fun part. Now these banners, I'm understanding, will be going up in the arena, and they will be there forever. So big accomplishment. For those who are not into the hockey world, this is a big accomplishment to win banners and bring it home. So this is your under 13 champions right here. So, yep, everybody stand up. So let's have a smile. Everybody smile. Hold up your banners, nice and proud. Oh, Merritt. You betcha. Yep. Now, Jesse, my understanding, this is your first year as coaching? Excellent. Excellent. So we have something for the kids here. So if all the kids, before they leave, the coaches, you get nothing. So if all the kids, if you want to grab a chlorine package, Grab one. We go out.
Thank you. Yeah, there were three not here.
Well,
The three kids are away.
Jesse, these are for the 3 kids that didn't show up. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, don't pilfer it, by the way. Congratulations.
See a lot of mirror.
Yep.
Well, that's fair.
So thank you very much, everybody. Now, if you guys want to sit through a 2-hour meeting, you can more than welcome, or else you guys can all head out. So. Thank you. Thank you. So, thank you. Thanks, Jesse. Well, job well done, considering it's your first year as a coach. Did a great job. Thank you. Great staff. Thank you. And no, none of you people can leave. Don't try and sneak out. That's always nice when you can do that. That's a big deal for them. 5.2, cooperatives first. We have a presentation by Kevin Petty, community engagement consultant. I believe Kevin is online. Can you hear us, Kevin?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much. Can you guys hear me okay?
Not very well. I think we got to turn our volume up here a little bit. If I
Okay.
could just get you to do a test.
Yes. How does that sound?
That's
How's
good.
that sounding here?
We're good.
Okay, very good. Yeah, thanks for having me, everybody. Very, very happy to present to your group. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I've had my share of meetings over the years, and I'm going to just try to give you guys the goods, okay? I'm with a nonprofit. We're based out of Saskatchewan, but I do a lot of work in BC. We're funded by Federated Co-op, so we exist just to offer free services to help groups get cooperatives created. We think it's a useful business model, especially in rural areas. I'll go through my presentation. I'll tell you guys what a cooperative is. There's some different kinds. I don't want to get too into the weeds, but I'll give you a few examples. I have some local examples close to you guys too. And I'll leave some time for questions. So yeah, first of all, what is a co-op? So it goes back to my hometown, actually, in southeast Saskatchewan. There was a big bumper crop, 1901. There was only like 2 companies that controlled everything. There was 2 grain elevators and 1 railway company. So what happened is a lot of the wheat spoiled that year, which really pissed off the farmers. So they got together. They had a meeting in my hometown, 1901, Indian Head, and they said, "What can we do? We're at the whim of these 2 businesses." So they said, "Well, what if we all pool our resources together and we make our own elevator, and we have more power to decide when we sell our grain?" And that was the start of what became the Saskatchewan Wheat Pool. And we've seen you guys are probably aware of quite a history in Western Canada with the power of cooperatives. They're basically used when markets and government, they're not coming in and saving our problems. We have some valuable services to our community, so the group comes together and figures it out together. So yeah, as the slide says, co-ops are owned and run by the people that use them. So that's a bit of the history. Sorry if you guys know all this already, but so yeah, often when we see I was an entrepreneur myself, had a small business for years, sold it a few years ago. The beauty of a group ownership structure is that it's not all on one person. You spread the risk around, and what makes co-ops different from a regular corporation or sole proprietorship is this concept of one member, one vote. So no matter how much money you put in, everybody just gets one vote at the end of the day. So it's very democratic. Profits are often distributed based on how much you shop at the co-op, as most of you are probably members of co-op grocery, gas, and stuff. So another advantage is it's locally controlled, local ownership. Profit is not the primary objective. It is important to be viable, but the primary purpose is to offer a valuable service or goods to your community. So we've helped quite a few cooperative associations in BC incorporate. This is kind of the breakdown on some different types. Quite a few nonprofit community service ones, some worker co-ops. I'll get into a few examples of those. So interestingly, so there's the weed pool that started in Saskatoon. It was kind of a play on the wheat pool, of course. They were actually asked not to use their old logo anymore, but this was the case where it was 24 small independent cannabis retailers were fighting against giant weed companies. So they all pulled together. They hired a staff, and now they source all their product together. They've been very successful as small independent local businesses to team up and create a producer co-op. So the co-op exists for the benefit of these small businesses. So this is a good example of a producer co-op. A tourism example also in Saskatchewan was a bunch of small towns got together to run a visitor center together and to promote tourism where they could do it all. It would be hard for just Maple Creek to do all this, but if everyone teams up, you can hire someone and run this together. In Vancouver, there's an example of a worker co-op. This is a video game maker. We're seeing a lot of these in business succession. So I'm sure you guys probably have a lot of businesses where people are looking to retire in a couple of years. And there's actually a federal incentive right now to sell to your workers. And then you get this capital gains exemption. But worker co-op, straightforward. Instead of one owner, the workers own it together and make decisions collectively. And then the community service co-op example I have is the Nanaimo Forest School. So they exist to educate, to do this nature education programs for kids. Lots of different types of consumer co-ops. So it just means you exist to consume childcare, mutual insurance, grocery stores. There's a new kind of co-op called a community investment cooperative, where you sell, it's a way to raise money for a project. So you sell investment shares. So I've seen these are growing in popularity lately. I've helped a couple recently. If you think about the money we have in mutual funds and our pension, if you just take 5% of that and invest it locally, it might not be a huge financial return, but it really helps your community. I have a great video from, you guys are probably familiar with Souk. It's on Vancouver Island. They used the community investment co-op to save this cafe that was going to go out of business. So they raised money through a community investment cooperative. And you guys will probably have the link. I could share this after, but a link to the video. It makes the point really well. So yeah, in Saskatoon, there's a healthcare cooperative that was started in the 60s by some people I actually know. There's currently I'm helping Meadow Creek convert their ownership from a sole owner to a cooperative model there. That one's brand new. We're still working on this one. And then the issue of the day is housing. Now, if you guys haven't been in contact with Cooperative Housing Federation of BC, I really recommend you do. Cooperative housing could be a great way to provide affordable housing to people. So there's there's a couple. This was also a video that I could share after, but there's a land co-op or there's a housing co-op. Often it's in partnership with the municipality that offers the land for a discount, and then you're the next slide with the housing co-op, you're paying an affordable monthly charge. You can live there as long as you want, as long as you follow the rules of the housing co-op. And once again, everybody gets a vote on important decisions for the housing co-op. So most housing co-ops, you don't actually own it, but you have affordable rent for as long as you like. There's a really cool local example you guys might be familiar with out of Kamloops, Propolis Housing Co-op. This is a new one. They did a really innovative thing. They raised money through community bonds, which hadn't been done in Western Canada yet. If you guys want more info on that one, I have some more in-depth stuff that I could share with you. Just I have my email there, kevin@cooperativesfirst.com. Shoot me a message. I can share with you. I could share with you some detailed information about how this Kamloops group has successfully raised 1.1 million. They bought a building and they have big plans to provide some affordable housing, which is much needed right now. So hopefully that wasn't too incoherent. Cooperatives, very useful, flexible business model to provide some valuable services, especially in towns like Merritt. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for letting me present today.
Thank you. Thank you. Council, any questions on this? Councillor Logan.
No, I just want to say thank you so much, Kevin, for the presentation. I've had the opportunity to work with your organization within my work, Community Futures. So I believe I attended also some seminars about the different types of co-ops, which is very important. At that time, I was dealing with, I believe, Kyle White. So no, thank you for the presentation, and I think it would be good opportunity for us to deep into these options for our community.
Thank you. Yes, we often partner with Community Futures. We work with a lot of the similar groups. Yeah.
Councillor Charney.
Thank you for the presentation. It's very informative. I definitely would like some more information on how to set up a housing co-op.
Okay.
Avenues of what we can look into. Thank you.
Yeah, shoot me an email and we'll connect after for sure.
Councillor Egan.
Yeah, thank you again, Kevin. It was very informative. I'm interested in do you do any food hubs as a cooperative?
Yes, we have helped some of those. We have some good examples of that. Yeah.
So that's what I'd be interested in.
Okay.
So Kevin, what I would suggest is maybe send an email to our CO or myself, and we'll get it to all of council.
Will do. Yeah.
And all these connections, and we can get that looked at, because I think all of us have some are housing, some are food hubs, some are medical, etc., where we could start talking about all this. And it's interesting because I grew up in a little town called Langeberg, Saskatchewan.
Oh yeah.
We had 4 grain elevators in our community, and we had United Grain Growers, Sask Wheat, and Pool. And so the co-op was a very big part. Matter of fact, co-op was what did everything, our fuel, our groceries, everything. So well aware of co-ops and how well they work. So
oh yeah, for sure.
I do appreciate that. So thank you for being here. Any other questions from council? Thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bylaws 7.1. City of Merritt 2026-2030 Financial Plan Bylaw number 2418-2026. We have a recommendation that the City of Merritt 2026-2030 Financial Plan Bylaw number 2418-2026 be read a first time. Councillor Petrosi, Councillor Etchart. Any questions on this? All those in favor? Oh, here we go. Push your mic. Councillor Egan.
Yeah, thank you. I was looking at CFO's report. Is that if that's what we're discussing? And under point 6, we're talking about adjusting the carryover capital from 2025 for work completed in quarter 4, 2025. I thought that we had already planned certain amount for the garbage truck in previous budgets. I'm just wondering where that carryover went to.
CFO.
So we already had many projects marked as carryover in our draft submission. If work got completed between October 1st or even September when the budget process started and December 31st, that's what we're adjusting here. So the solid waste truck on the commercial side didn't arrive until a week or two ago. So that work didn't get completed in Q4 2025. And so therefore no adjustment is needed.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Recommendation that the City of Merritt 2026-2030 Financial Plan Bylaw number 2418-2026 be read a second time. Councillor Baxter, Councillor Ogan, any questions on that one? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Recommendation that the City of Merritt 2026-2030 Financial Plan Bylaw number 2418-2026 be read a third time. Councillor Petrosi, Councillor Etchart, any questions? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Thank you for all the hard work. 7.2, City of Merritt Water Parcel Tax Amending Bylaw number 2419-2026. Recommendation that the City of Merritt Water Parcel Tax Amending Bylaw number 2419-2026 be read a first time. Councillor Baxter, Councillor Petrosi, any questions on this? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Recommendation that the City of Merritt Water Parcel Tax Amending Bylaw number 2419-2026 be read a second time. Councillor Petrosi, Councillor Ogan. Again, any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Recommendation that the City of Merritt Water Parcel Tax Amending Bylaw number 2419-2026 be read a third time. Councillor Baxter, Councillor Egan, any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you for the work on that one. City of Merritt Sewer Parcel Tax Amending Bylaw number 2420-2026. Recommendation that the City of Merritt Sewer Parcel Tax Amending Bylaw number 2420-2026 be read a first time. Councillor Baxter, Councillor Petrosi. Questions on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Recommendation that the City of Merritt Sewer Parcel Tax Amending Bylaw number 2420-2026 be read a second time. Councillor Etchart, Councillor Ogan. Any questions on that? Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Recommendation that the City of Merritt Sewer Parcel Tax Amending Bylaw number 2420-2026 be read a third time. Councillor Baxter, Councillor Egan. Any questions on those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you for all of that. On to new business, 8.1. We have a recommendation. It's the solid waste MFA borrowing resolution. We have a recommendation that council authorize $416,492 to be borrowed under section 175 of the community charter from the Municipal Finance Authority for the purchase of a commercial solid waste truck, and recommendation that the loan be repaid within 5 years with no right of renewal. Councillor Petrosi, Councillor Egan, any questions? Councillor Egan.
Thank you. Again, I'm just wondering if we had already earmarked funds for this, for the purchase of this solid waste truck, why are we now having to finance it?
CFO.
It is premised as proceeds from borrowing in our financial plan. So in all of the line by line review that we did in March, each project was paired with its funding source. If it came from reserves, it was paired with reserves. For our equipment, we don't have sufficient reserves to be able to finance a truck of that size. We used the equipment reserve on the grader last year. There's a small residual, but not enough for a $500,000 truck.
Okay, thank you. I must have overlooked that part.
Councillor Charney.
So it's a carryover, that the truck was a carryover. So the funding for that was through borrowing. That's my understanding then.
Yep.
Okay, so I was under the impression that when we budgeted for it, we put that money in a reserve somewhere for the truck. and then we didn't buy it, so it was carried over to 2026. So
there-
that's incorrect then.
So there could be some timing differences in terms of when the debt payments start, depending on when the units are actually delivered. And so if we had built that into the plan to tax for those payments, there could be a portion that ends up in our surplus at the end of the year. But the actual full cost of the unit, if it was premised as financing, would have been spread over 5 years. So there's not 5 years worth of payments sitting in the reserve anywhere.
We also had a delay on this, did we not?
They're all.
Always delayed. Councillor Oldham.
Thank you. So I was just doing a quick analysis. So the cost of borrowing for this truck is gonna be within the 5 years, approximately 32,000. So we are talking about the 2.8 interest. The only concern that I have is the floating interest rate. Is there a way that we can get fixed interest rate?
No, not on financing for under 5 years. So if we wanted to take out long-term debt and actually go through that process with the regional district, we can lock in an interest rate for a 10-year period. So if we decided to pool all these units together and do a long-term debt issuance, that's an option if we wanted to lock in an interest rate. But under the community charter, the equipment financing has to be only up to 5 years.
Basically,
Yeah.
10-year would be a way at long term for this purchase. So are there any other purchasing options right now that we may have? Or this is the only way that we can obtain this?
So it's this, or we have to use our reserves. And then we're talking, so if you think about the infrastructure, public works side of things, right now, we're only contributing 100,000 a year to transportation. Well, the 2 asphalt projects in our financial plan are over 1 million, right? So the reserves that we have are going to projects that don't have a dedicated funding source like that. So we're taking advantage of opportunities to spread the cost out over 5 years where we have that ability. We don't have the ability to finance things like asphalt projects that way. It's either use reserves or go out and do a long-term debt issuance, and then we're locked into that for 10 years.
I was just asking because I thought, so if we have certain amount of money in the reserves, can we just, finance ourselves? And we can make payments to ourselves. But in this case, if we do that, we would be affecting other major projects, correct?
And I do list that as an option. So option 2 does say if council choose not to approve the financing, it would require the funding to come from other sources such as reserves. But that means that it's not available for other projects.
Okay.
And you'd then have to find a way of replacing that, and that would be through taxation.
Thank you.
So.
Okay.
Councillor Egan.
Okay, I'm just throwing this out there. It's probably not a great idea, but if you went for longer term plans, could you not pick up, say, the electric ice surfer or resurfer? Is that what you're talking about? You would have to find more equipment to put into that loan to make it over for
You'd
up to 10
probably
years?
look at what you could pool together and if you're gonna do like a 10-year long-term debt issuance. It's an option.
Yeah, I'm just.
Yep, in a year in which we have a lot of, capital outlays, we could look at doing that. This program doesn't require any voting approval because it's under the 5-year term in the community charter, so council doesn't need electoral approval. If we're borrowing for things outside of water and sewer.
Okay,
on
so
the
we would
long-term
have to
side,
go to a referendum?
correct. So if you think about the fire hall station and things like that, that was a long-term debt issuance, but you needed electoral approval to proceed with that. So under the charter, if you're borrowing up to 5 years, council can authorize that on the electorate behalf.
Okay.
And so that's what helps this program spread that cost over the 5 years.
Councillor Richard.
Well, just kind of speaking to what Councillor Ogan was talking about, is I used to have a similar thought about, we could pay for certain things, but of course, there's a lot of grants where we sometimes have to have a matching amount and we have to have a certain amount in reserves before we can get approved. And when they had one of the sessions at UBCM from the MFA a couple of years ago, they were talking about trying to be competitive with the banks and stuff as well. So with some of our investments and whatnot. So I feel that it would still be a competitive rate I know I too have a concern with increasing interest rates, but even at 2.8, they've been going up a little bit slower than I expected in this market, but yeah, still less than what we'd probably find from the bank anyway.
Councillor Hogan?
Yeah, I just want to add that I didn't know about, that requirement at least 10 years. So that was my concerns. Right now it's 2.8. If you're familiar with the overnight interest rate, it has been steady for the past three announcements. So this is a 5-year long term, and it's not gonna stay at 2.8. So that's why we need to understand that it's gonna be more. Right now, the interest at 2.8, if it stays at that, is gonna be approximately 32,000. So if it's gonna go between 4.5 and 5, it's gonna be 45, 50,000. So it's doable for the assets that we are gonna be purchasing and the use that we will get from this. So I would be okay.
Any other questions on this? So I've got the two recommendations out. Yep, I do. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 8.2, BC Transit 2026-2027 Annual Operating Agreement. Recommendation that council authorize the mayor and the corporate officer to sign the Transit 2026-2027 Annual Operating Agreement. Councillor Petrosi, Councillor Baxter, any questions on this? Just want to say thank you for all the hard work that was done on that. There's a lot of work on that. There's a lot of ins and outs. All those in favor? Those carried. 8.3, 2026 Hazard Risk and Vulnerability Analysis, HRVA. We are going to have two presenters presenting tonight virtually. Mr. Andre Dubé and Mr. Jacob Tilson, both with Colliers. They're project leaders who will make a short presentation to council. So, gentlemen, can you hear us?
I can definitely hear you, your worship and council, but unfortunately, I don't know if you can hear my colleague Andre. Andre, looks like you might have audio now. You're getting the green outline.
We can hear you pretty good. I'm not sure who that was. My eyesight's not the best. Sorry about that. But so I'll hand it over to you. And who's ever presenting, you're off.
Fantastic. Well, just give me a moment here to open up my my slides, and we'll be off with the presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jacob.
And I'll just confirm here that the room can see the screen.
It's right. Yep, it's right behind you. But there it is. Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, just one second here. Sorry, while I get a few
Not a problem.
technical sorted out.
Not a problem.
Testing, testing.
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Okay, you can actually hear me as well?
We sure can.
Awesome. Apologies for that. I had to sort my audio out.
Well, there we go. I got the screen back up there. So apologies for that. The delay was well timed, as it gave my colleague a little chance to get his audio sorted out. And as I say a lot to my team, patience with technology is very important these days, especially when we're using a platform that we don't often use. So good evening, Mayor and Council. Very excited to be here. I'll run through a quick introduction myself, and then I'll pass it back over to Andre, who's going to take us through the information that we want to share with you tonight on the risk assessment. And then, of course, we'll have some time available to answer any questions that you may have as well after reviewing the report. So I'll start off. My name is Jacob Tilson. I'm an associate director with Colliers Project Leaders. And for this project here, the risk assessment that we were completing with your emergency program staff in the city, I was the project lead, so I helped support the team here from Colliers Project Leaders in completing the project and making sure that we had a really comprehensive understanding of the hazards, risks, and vulnerabilities in the Merritt area. So Andre, I'll pass it over to you.
Cheers. Thanks, Jacob. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. We're excited to present have the opportunity to present this updated hazard risk and vulnerability analysis, or HRVA, that we've been working on so hard for the past several months. So this project is refreshing Merritt's original 2007 HRVA, and what it's really doing is allowing the city to have an updated understanding of the current hazard landscape. But before I begin, I also wanted to acknowledge that there was a bit of a quality issue that was identified when we had converted our PDF. In an earlier version of the document, this is a living document, and unfortunately, some of the text was affected in the upload. So we have flagged that for correction, and we are completing an additional final quality assurance review within the existing project budget so that a clean version will be issued to the emergency program. And once that is complete. So Jacob, I think you're running the slides, so I'll have to rely on you following along, so I appreciate it. All right, we've got a very brief agenda here. We don't want to belabor any of these points, but tonight I want to walk through 4 items with questions at the end of the presentation, including a project overview, milestones, results, as well as recommendations, and then some closing comments. So I do want to recognize that our project sponsor, Mr. Adam Hart, he was instrumental in guiding this project throughout. So he's been absolutely fantastic to work alongside, providing meaningful feedback as well as insights into the local context. So really appreciate that. But as Jacob already introduced himself, we also had Mr. Michael Higgins, who is our practice director, myself, a manager, and Lama Farhat, who is the associate. We worked together to bring everything in and complete this analysis. So just wanted to make sure everybody here understood who was working on the project. But a brief overview. So what is an HRVA? An HRVA is a practical planning tool that helps local governments compare hazards and support decisions related to preparedness, mitigation, and response, as well as recovery. This update focused solely on the natural hazards, some of which were wildland fire, flooding, drought, extreme rainfall, heat, ice jams, and many other naturally occurring events. Human-induced and technological hazards were also included in the risk matrix for comparison, but they were not included within the scope of this project. So, what was the process? The process that we implemented was adapted from the Government of British Columbia's HRVA companion guide, as well as combined with our own personal technical review, local knowledge, and engagement with key partners, where we worked with city representatives, partner agencies, and First Nations authorities through meetings, workshops, as well as a survey to make sure that the assessment reflected local knowledge and experience. Each hazard was assessed using likelihood and consequence, and climate change considerations were built into this analysis so that the city can better understand both current and future risk. Likelihood as well as consequence were both scored on a scale of 1 to 5, and those scores were then combined in a basic algorithm to create an overall qualitative risk ranking. In total, 36 hazards were reviewed. Of these, 17 were natural hazards, which were assessed within the scope of this HRVA. Climate change was built into this analysis so that this report doesn't just show current risk, it also points to how those risks may change over time. Going over some of the milestones. There are a few worth highlighting. First, we reviewed and refined the hazard list so that the analysis focused on the hazards most relevant to Merritt. In total, 36 were reviewed once more, 17 being natural hazards were assessed. Second, we completed engagement with city staff, response partners, as well as First Nations authorities. That engagement was crucial because it brought forward practical local perspectives on hazard impacts, community vulnerabilities, and existing response capacities. Third, we completed the scoring and risk ranking process, which allowed us to compare hazards on a consistent basis. Fourth, we incorporated climate change considerations and vulnerability themes into the final analysis. And finally, we brought all of those findings together into the updated HRVA report, which now should be able to give the city a current foundation for emergency management planning as well as future resilience work. The report is intended to be a living document so that it can be updated as new information, assessments, and priorities emerge. So moving straight into the results, recognizing the short time. So risk assessment summary. The risk assessment identified several high-ranking hazards for the city. The highest ranking hazards were wildland urban interface fire, wildland fire, riverine flooding, and extreme rainfall. There are several others identified here, which also ranked very highly. The overall picture is clear. Merritt's risk profile is strongly influenced by climate-related hazards and changing environmental conditions. Several of the highest ranking hazards are expected to become more frequent, more severe, and possibly more complicated over time. This means that the city's resilience work needs to be forward-looking and not just based off past events. The HRVA also provides a stronger understanding of community vulnerability and how it and helps to show how social, physical, and environmental factors can increase exposure to risk. While the report is not a site-specific asset study, it does a practical, community-wide basis for planning, prioritizing, and investing in risk reduction. The HRVA points to important next steps for the city, some of which we recognize are already underway. We've highlighted some of the recommendations from our additional report We also have submitted a strategic recommendations report and have included some of the recommendations here for consideration. These are not in any particular order, but the first recommendation is that we expand the HRVA scope to include the human-caused as well as technological hazards. Second, strengthen the governance by expanding the Emergency Executive Committee and creating clear reporting cycle up to the mayor and council. Third, formalizing partnership and knowledge sharing practices with the surrounding First Nations communities as well as Indigenous governing bodies. The fourth, developing a municipal business continuity program so that the city can better protect critical services and minimize minimum service levels during disruptions. And fifth is to strengthen the public education and awareness through targeted hazard-specific preparedness programs, public alerting, adoption, and accessible outreach to vulnerable and hard-to-reach populations. Together, these recommendations move the city from risk awareness towards a more coordinated and proactive resilience program. They are also intended to be revisited over time as the HRVA is maintained and future studies and programs are completed.
Thanks for that.
Thanks, Jacob.
I also just want to say a very sincere thank you to everybody here. The opportunity to get to work with the city, especially your emergency program, and a project like this touches on almost every department within the city, various staff, and like Andre mentioned as well, we've also had the pleasure of engaging with response partners, Indigenous partners, and many others that Merritt and the city and council and staff have spent likely many decades building a really strong relationship with, and that's a great opportunity for us, and we appreciate the trust that the city put in our team to be able to produce this document. And we also really value the opportunity to get to continue building our partnership with the city. We started building that partnership following the atmospheric river, working together for the flood mitigation work that we've been involved in with Sean Strang and members of the mitigation team there. And we also value the opportunity to get to support the team in advancing an updated understanding of risk. This is really such an important step to so many future initiatives that can be undertaken, whether that's disaster risk reduction strategies, just a better, more comprehensive understanding of specific vulnerabilities within the population. And of course, I think the main goal, and if you were to ask Mr. Hart this as well, is understanding that pathway to be able to build community resilience and how to make strategic and informed decisions on how to get to that more resilient community. I think it's really important to recognize with a report like this, as we do many of them, that no single document that the city has is going to be able to capture everything. And that's true with this as well. It's very focused in the natural hazard landscape, mostly due to the funding limitations to the program that the emergency program used to fund it. But our hope as members of the project team and also as partners to the city is that the assessment that we presented here today for council to consider receiving starts to provide that really strong foundation to support those ongoing resilience efforts to help direct and inform future planning and really position the city well for future upcoming funding opportunities that rely on risk assessments as a foundation to be completed in order to show that there's a thoughtful approach that's being taken into those next steps, whether that be incorporating human-caused hazards, future climate adaptation or mitigation measures. It is a really important step. Thank you again. It was an absolute pleasure getting to work with Mr. Hart with the emergency program, the various staff and partners of Merritt. And of course, thank you, Mayor and Council, for your time this evening and your time reading and considering the report here that we've put in front of you. I can speak for the whole project team and many of my colleagues over at Colliers as well that have had the chance to work with the city of Merritt over the last several years. But we do really value our partnership with the city and value the opportunity to keep moving many of your projects forward and continue to be that partner, whether it be risk assessments or other projects as well. So I am excited to see where this report goes and also rest assured that the recommendations are in good hands. So I'll hand it back over to the group here to see if there's any questions for Andre or myself.
Thank you, Andre, and thank you, Jacob. I appreciate and Adam, I appreciate the hard work that went into this. And this is something that we've all been touched by, so we're all very aware. And I think every community kind of needs this. Councillor Egan.
Yes, thank you. It was a very meticulously prepared report. Thank you very much. I enjoyed the read. One thing I did find, though, which I found kind of odd, is you found 610 visible minorities in Merritt.
So that is mostly just speaking to not groups, but rather representation. So there we brought a lot of this in from existing studies, and that was it's not a count. It is for consideration, and we did not actually find that data. We are referencing that data.
Okay. It still seems awfully high. Thanks.
Any other questions from council? Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate the hard work that was done on this, and we will continue to refer to it and continue moving on with it. So thank you very much. Thank you, Adam.
Very much for the time.
Thank you very much. So in front of you, you have a recommendation. Recommendation is that council adopt the 2026 hazard risk and vulnerability analysis HRVA as attached to the April 8th, 2026 report on the emergency program of the emergency program coordinator. Councillor Egan, Councillor Baxter, any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you for all the hard work. I really appreciate it. 8.4 Crown Tenure Application Assistance for a Championship Level Disc Golf Course. So we do have a recommendation, and the recommendation is that council direct staff to retain Urban Systems to proceed with the Crown Land Tenure Application, application number 100362698 for the proposed Merritt Disc Golf Course in the North Bench area, with 50% cost sharing with the Nicola Valley Disc Golf Club for the application. Councillor Baxter, Councillor Ogan, questions or comments? Councillor Egan.
Yes, 50% cost sharing. Now, is that going to set a precedent for other groups, i.e. The groups that use the parks?
So this is for the application cost, not the active building of the thing.
Okay, but don't we need to discuss how that's going to affect the city before you make the application?
And again, and correct me if I'm wrong, CEO, anybody else, this application would go in and it would either be accepted or rejected. And I think we would work from there, but CAO?
Yes, thank you, Mark. This is application that was made a number of years ago.
Sorry, you're on now.
Yeah, this is an application that went in a number of years ago, and it's on Crown land, and the Crown recently got back to city staff on, do you want to continue this thing after a number of years sitting in their hands? So because we need to further the application with some additional work from the consultant, that's where the costing comes in right now, but it's carrying on something that was started, I think, back in 2019 or 2020 is what was reported in the report. So it is an application for Crown land, use of Crown land for this disc golf course.
Okay, it's already set up. I've been there.
Partially, this would be more, I guess, if they get more space.
Expansion.
Yeah. No question.
So question probably to Dave. This would then add to our, and probably the city works, this would add to our daily routine of making sure that things are cut, trimmed, and all of that. Even though it's on Crown land, I'm assuming that we will be taking responsibility of making sure it's always pristine.
Not at all. This,
Okay.
my understanding is because it's on Crown land, the organization that wants to set up the course will be looking after it.
Okay.
It came through the city as far as the original application. Staff at the time hired a consultant to work the application because they're not super easy to do.
Okay.
And it sat for a period of time, which is why it's back now. The primary reason for bringing it back and not just going with it, the way it was started a number of years ago, because I know nobody here has been made aware of the project at all, and we wanted to make sure you're aware of it. So,
Councillor Richard.
Well, I was just wondering, with the cost estimate at 9,100, that was a quote in 2020. So, are these current? Like, I'm thinking that they're probably higher now. And is that per basket? Because there's 18 different holes. And so what would the cost be if we have cost sharing?
For 9.
Question, through your worship. Yeah, those projected costs were back in the day, so they're outdated for sure, but we're not proceeding with any budgeting of baskets or anything at this time. It's about getting the land tenure application. Can we get the land? Then working with the organization to fundraise. And yeah, that's usually what they did with their last project that I'm aware of. They fundraised and got sponsorships, and they paid for all the equipment. They do all the maintenance of the site, and so forth.
And if they do have events that are hosted, tournaments and stuff mentioned in the report, where do those funds go to the group? And then it goes towards the ongoing maintenance and repair of equipment?
I would assume that they would facilitate that way for
'Cause
sure. If they
I
have
imagine there's
tournaments.
maintenance costs and everything like that. That we could get
Their
pricey.
groups, yeah, sorry, Counselor. Their group does a lot of volunteerism, and yeah, that's the way they base their operations on.
How many people actually play? Do we have any kind of a number, any idea?
The last I heard, their membership is getting a big surge right now. They have, I believe, anywhere from 15 to 25 members that are in this community, let alone several communities have multiple courses. Logan Lake, I believe, has 3 18-hole courses. It's getting to be quite an amazing thing. Like, people are driving around with frisbees in their cars, stopping at other locations just to play. They have, I believe, a disc club has an app which can determine how many people actually stop at your course. But I don't have the numbers from them at this time.
And I believe on Sean Smith's farewell, we actually had an event up there.
Yeah.
At the disc golf course that day. So, and I have seen some people playing. Councillor Hogan.
Thank you. So I need more information from staff. So I need to have a good understanding, because I am like Councillor Egan. This is just the application. So, okay, let's say worst case scenario, it's approved. And I'm saying worst case scenario is approved. What's going to happen? I need to have a good understanding of this project. How is that going to impact the city? What's going to be the city involvement? So what's going to be the club involvement? Because this is only to pay urban systems to provide information that the province requires to move the application further. But can you provide more information?
For sure, to answer your question, we once we get the land application, if it is approved, then it's a matter of working the project and working with the community group of what they're going to do to make it forward. The last project they did sponsorship fundraisers. They're doing fundraisers right now.
They had, I believe it was Councillor Luck at the time, donated a hole, as well as one of the other councillors bought the cage and everything to donate for the hole. So I think they're planning on doing that business plan as well. The maintenance would be all done by the organization. City workers wouldn't be really doing much for that.
CAO, want to jump in here?
Thank you, Worship. So just to clarify for myself, asking questions, the existing golf course that we went to, that's by the park up on the bench, that one is all within the park space, correct? For the
Yes,
city?
that's correct.
There's nothing on the Crown land at this point. Okay, the application that we would be putting in, the city would be the sponsor of the Crown land application because the organization can't be, is that correct?
That's
So the 10-year application is in the name of the city. And the organization, if they move forward with the project, would be responsible for the actual maintenance. We'd have to do some sort of a contract and or a project plan up with them, correct?
correct.
So details of where they're going are not here yet until we know we can get control of the land to put it on. And this Crown land tenure stuff can go on for years and has. Right, so it's one of those things, nobody's doing a pile of work for this thing yet because they haven't been given permission to use the land that way yet.
Where is the land?
This,
It's sold in your.
the mapping would be up above Mountain Drive, up on the Crown land that way.
So finally, so while I understand that there is more information needed for the club or the city to work on the business plan, I mean, that makes me uncomfortable not to know, not to have answers to these questions. So thank you.
And 100%, this kind of surprised us. We got a note from the government. Current staff didn't know anything about this because this was a number of years ago this happened. They went, "Do you want to continue with your application?" And we went, "What application?" So, which is part of we wanted to bring it forward, make sure you're aware that these things are going on. It's an important thing for this club. And right now the costs are pretty small to carry on with the application, but there's no guarantee that an investment of half of what's it, $2,000, that we would actually get the tenure as well. They may say no, in which case then everything's dead and we spent a little bit more money furthering the application is all we've done. So there's really not much to do until we know we have land to work with up there, that we can start placing things on. And I wouldn't say we so much, it's the club forwarding this concept. We haven't made an arrangement with the club at this point.
Councillor Baxter.
I've shown this to many people and I play disc golf. And I go to other communities to play disc golf and I've met lots of people and I think this would be beneficial for our town. There's tournaments all the time, all over BC, and a lot of communities have 2 or 3 courses that I've gone to in a city. And when we go camping, we go disc golfing. I think this is a great project and it'd be beneficial for the high school and other people in this town.
Councillor Egan.
Yeah, I was just wondering, actually, speaking of schools, if they have approached school board to help them with this, because they do have the one adjacent to bench. And I don't really see a whole lot of maintenance up there. And I walk it quite a bit. So I'm just wondering, you know.
I'll answer your councillor through your worship. Councillor Egan, maintenance is very low maintenance. I know Greg Hodson lives up there and he walks it quite regularly himself. He is an avid member for the club. But yeah, it's like the project in the Crown land application is to try to keep the forest as natural as possible. So really there's not going to be many changes. The maintenance is to keep the landscape as natural and, you know, just useful and, you know, clean as possible.
There's lots of piece of land. So
Yeah, challenges for
Yeah.
golf.
It's like a golf
yes,
course.
but it's also a risk. It's a liability.
That's why you sign a waiver.
Oh, we all know what waivers do, not much.
Councillor Trenny.
I am assuming that this is the same as the bike trails up in the hills, Crown land. City has no responsibility or any liability. So I don't see why the city would be responsible for any maintenance whatsoever. I don't have a problem with supporting the application, but I would not want to see us enter into an agreement where we are doing any maintaining or have any part of liability for this activity. It's the same as the bike trails and snowmobiles and cross country. They're up in the hills. That's the club's responsibility. Nothing to do with city taxpayers' dollars. And I also, I don't know if lacrosse stopped because the box was wrong, but there's a perfect example of a small group wanting something built, and then that group migrates off somewhere else, and the city is left with that facility. So I'm not too sure if that's the same analogy, but I'm very leery of a small group. But my thing is, up in Crown Land, their responsibility, not cities.
Councillor Oldham.
I just want to add that if there is no timeline, so I would like to have the opportunity to ask a few questions to the club, because this is the fee for the application again, and this is gonna be Urban Systems. If you have the opportunity to read their letter, it's limited of what they are gonna be doing. And it seems to me that there is gonna be more fees. So I just want to make sure that the club is ready for that. So I wish that somebody from the club were here now.
Pretty sure we could ask for a presentation as well. Yeah. Pretty sure we could do that. CAO.
Yeah, I guess, from a timeline perspective, the application itself, because it landed on somebody's desk after this many years, it probably does have a little bit of urgency to it. That said, to answer Councillor Charney's question, I believe since we're the applicant, being the city for the Crown Land tenure, there will be some responsibility for the land. I'm not sure to what level that would come in the actual tenure conditions, right? But it's kind of like an SRW or something like that, that we are the applicant promising control of that land and maintenance of the land to some degree, and or have some liability for what's on it. So because we are the applicant, definitely something to think about.
Sure.
Yeah, I thank you for that. I think that's very important before we enter into this agreement, that we actually understand what we'd be responsible for on Crown land. I think that's very important, that we have a clear understanding of all our responsibilities before we sign it.
Yeah, so ultimately, the goal would be, if we got the tenure application and we had sort of control of that land as city land or as a user of that land, we'd have a lease agreement of some sort, or an agreement with the organization to absolve the city of responsibility and turn that, and they'd have to have their own insurance and whatnot. Those are details, like you say, you're asking, that's sort of down the road that we can deal with more when we know we have something to work with here. This is very early stuff, right? And unfortunately, there won't be a lot of definition. I don't think the club will be able to tell you any more than we are, other than what they want to do and what it looks like as far as membership and use of the facility. But ultimately, we're the applicant.
Sure.
In 2022, I know there was a lot of interest from different members of the community, including our former CAO, to apply for this, and our former director of planning, Don MacArthur, had written a letter that's drafted in there. But these things take so long. So I mean, at this point, if we're not committing, we're agreeing to the tenure, but we're not committing to the costs at this time, right? That's not the application.
The cost you're committing to right now, if
It's
you
just the
choose,
application.
would be cost sharing the remainder of the application to.
But the
get the
actual
government what they
equipment
want.
and could be negotiated further, right?
Yeah, once that happened, then we deal with the organization on how it all goes together. If it doesn't, we have Crown Land tenure on a bunch of ditches and pit faces and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I don't. Yeah, so I don't personally see the harm in continuing on it. I mean, it took 4 years to even get an answer, so it could be another 4 years before we get an approval.
Yeah, this is just the first step in many.
I mean, I remember when that happened, and a lot of things happened in that year too, so. But it's such a slow process that by the time we actually hear anything, it could be another 5 years.
And just for the record too, we considered doing the application ourselves to save the dollars on this. But we don't really have the resources. It's a little bit more technical, the questions they're asking. So it just came down to Urban Systems had been working on it before, and to get the continuity on that, it seemed logical to have an expert deal with that rather than us try and do it off the side of our desk like so many other things, so.
I have a mover and seconder. Yep, okay. So, the recommendations in front of you, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Don't go anywhere, Dick. Stay where you're at. 8.5, May Days Drag Racing Partnership Consideration. We have a recommendation that council direct administration to enter into a partnership with the May Day Drag Racing event and support a partial subsidizing cost offsetting rental in kind of the airport facility and facilitating amenities, garbage and bleachers for the 4-day event for the next 3 years. Do I have a Councilor Petrosi, Councilor Baxter? Questions from council? Councilor Charney.
It says partnering on an event such as this over a weekend will also have some implications to staff costs prior to and during the event. Do we have any idea how much this is going to cost? No dollars were attached.
Until the booking would happen, I mean, cost sharing would be, us delivering bleachers, the rental of bleachers, whatever, garbage cans kind of stuff. We usually do that deliveries on Friday, so staff hours for a few hours for staff for Public Works for delivery of that, and then pick up on Monday. That's according to their last drag race, that would have been according to their rental, but we provided those services, but we charged them a full rental last time.
So,
Councilor Richard.
so essentially we'd be doing an in-kind is what they're looking for, the $6,000, the equivalent of that?
Well, to be honest with you, the last 2 drag races that we've had, one of the reasons that we have the airport up for the way we have the airport up is so we can make money off of it.
Yeah.
Holding an event this size where we may likely lose money is probably not the best idea for us at this point in time. There's a lot of things dealing with Daryl Smeaton and the last one, some of the issues that he ran into, last minute items. There has to be safety plans. There has to be security plans. There's a whole pile of things here. What we're being asked to do is run the whole event and then let them run their cars and do it for free to a certain degree. So we didn't do that with the last 2 events that we've had. We don't do that with the autocross. The whole idea of the airport is to make some money off of it. This is a lot of work. There's also a lot, especially with these vehicles, there's a lot of liability that comes with them.
Well,
Especially, if they're not protected and they're hitting a certain mile per hour and they don't have correct roll bars, city becomes responsible for that.
they had a link to the video in 2023 and they're getting pretty close to that 2-lane road.
Yeah, and that's all part about no prep racing. It's just kind of the way it goes. But I'm just saying, the event that was put on before by the other group, we did the work that we could, but we did not bear hardly any of the costs because the whole idea was to make money on this. But anyways, that's just me. Councillor Egan.
Did they happen to report a loss?
I
We haven't
don't,
seen their financial.
I don't, this is a completely different group.
Oh, okay, well, the other thing I was thinking is that instead of just being in one of our regular meetings, this should have come to the grant and aid and grant and lieu.
They kind of came out of nowhere. They just dropped. I'm assuming that this gentleman has raced here at those 2 events and is deciding to try and put an event on himself. So that's my opinion.
And
This
he's not
kind of-
in the crowd?
Hmm?
He's not here to present?
No. So it just kind of came out of nowhere.
I can help with a bit of the background
Yep,
as well.
go ahead, Seal.
Thank you, Worship. I did get an email follow-up regarding sort of what the ask is as far as the city's contribution. Obviously, that is not charging the rent. But when you look at the other things we'd be involved in, we're in that, $9,000 to $10,000 per year contribution unless we can find a way through working with the event, partnering would be the idea, to find revenue sources out of the event. Their job would be to provide the insurance and do the racing, the staff, the prize money, the advertising, the entertainment, race specific, and they would be controlling the gate, obviously, because that's part of their revenue. We can do things like, food trucks and or, anything else on the site to help us recoup some of that. That said, that takes staff time and things like that, that also increase the the cost to us, even if it's, not direct cash cost because staff's doing it, but there would be overtime on the weekend. There'd be moving bleachers, there'd be not collecting rent for the airport.
Yeah.
So thumb sucked at, $8,000 to $10,000 right now would be the contribution from the city per year, unless we had a plan for how we would use the site to gain some revenue from the event. Their numbers suggest that they lost money on the last two events. So this person was involved in the other two events that apparently lost money. They conservatively feel 3,000 to 5,000 total attendees over the 3 days. So that's generally an influx of local people that would go to the race or people coming in. How many would be from out of town coming to town? Uncertain at this point. We had a lot of people from town at the last two events, and they were actually quite well attended with the food trucks and everything that were there, and they still lost a little bit of money reportedly. So
The weather had a lot to play into that too. It was May long weekend both times, and both times it was pretty stormy.
yeah. So their interest is them running the race part of it and having insurance and doing their thing on the race side of it. The city would be providing the facility rent free is what their ask is, and to assist with the setup and porta potties and things like that that are peripheral, and seeing if we can come up with something on our own to raise some revenue from that effort, knowing that there's all this going on the site. So that's the probably fuller picture if that wasn't.
How do we make, excuse me, how do we make money with food trucks? We don't have a food truck.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
we
you
could
rent
charge
them out.
food trucks for coming out for the weekend, for instance.
Yeah, I know, but that's the food truck people would be making the money. They
But-
would give us rent to be there.
Yeah, but they would pay to be there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not enough to pay for all the other things we're doing though. Since it allows.
Yeah, it's a good bit, but getting an event, and this is sort of the dream, getting an event established over 3 years is what their dream is, so that it then becomes a fixture. That has some value in it, and that's sort of the ask that, in the dream, if nothing else, that they're hoping that sticks here well with everybody. So
What did they say the estimated number of out of town people would be, visitors?
they
or
didn't, they
participants?
said attendees of 3,000 to 5,000 conservatively.
But what about the participants?
That's, again, based on who drives all the way up, trailers up, wants to be there for the prize money. I don't know if you went to the last one. I mean, I
30.
estimated maybe it was 100 cars,
Was it? Okay.
maybe 100. There's testing. Quite a few of them broke down even before the event started. Well, it's hard on the vehicles. So from my estimate, I think we had about 100 vehicles that ranged from very stock to very highly modified. So, and it all depends. When the autocross happens, that's anywhere between 80 and 100 vehicles. And that's very well attended. So you would be looking at the same thing. Who wants to make the trip? Is there something else countering it in another community? Is there another event that might take somebody, et cetera, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm just still trying to think of how the city's actually going to make enough to warrant the give.
I agree.
Right.
I think from the event side of things, the idea of the city making money and not investing as a partner for something that is getting established. That's really what it's an investment in, call it economic development if you want, of some sort, where you have an established something that grows roots that carries on every year. Knox Mountain Hill Climb in Kelowna is a good example. I'm not sure where all the funds come for that or how it goes together, but that's been a fixture since I was a kid. Right? That's the dream. So.
That's Richard.
I think if we were considering something like this, it could be under the sponsorships limit. I think the 6,000, 8,000, 10,000 might be a little bit high. If we were going to do anything, it would probably have to be in line with what we did for the other grant and aid people of say 1,000, 1,500, just to be fair to the other groups that we approved. But especially that this one kind of came after the fact. I think that if we were trying to be fair to the others, supporting the spin-off business that could happen for hotels and restaurants, I think we'd have to be in line with what we were considering for others, 1,000, 1,500 at most, but that's just my thought.
Councilor Rogan.
Okay, so I may agree with Councillor HR, but the big difference here is that we had an opportunity to review the financials for the other groups. Here, we don't have any financials. So I think that we have to be careful here because we have to make sure that we utilize these municipal funds in a organization that is going to bring something to the community, and everything is uncertain about the number of people that will be attending. And this is an in-kind application, and like you said, so we provided support to local organizations in the amount average of 1,200. So this is exceeding the support that we provided to other organizations. So I would not be in agreement to support.
And the other thing that I point out is we have the Pacific Northwest Rally here twice a year, and they've never come to us for a penny. They run the whole thing themselves, and they look after it. Councillor Charlie.
I agree with what all the other councillors have said. And another thing too, our grant in aid is for local organizations. This is an outside community organizer. So I think that makes a big difference. We have no idea on their financials. If they wanted a grant in aid, there is a deadline, and that's been passed. And we've had that discussion before about late applications coming in. But my biggest concern is the amount, and it's an outside community organization. And I agree with Councillor Egan. 8,000 plus. I don't think renting out space for food trucks, et cetera, is going to bring us more than what we're going to be putting into it. So I don't think I could support this.
Okay. Any other? Councillor Hogan?
No.
Oh, okay. Councillor Egan?
The only other thing that I do think, and I agree with everybody saying that, yes, this could become a really, really good, great event for Merritt, especially when many locals go camping May long weekend. So, I mean, everybody thinks it's going to be really, really busy. It's not necessarily for tourism and restaurants, say. I don't see that.
May long weekend.
I know May long weekend. Yeah.
It's risky.
Okay.
Yeah, they've moved it to
Yeah, they
June
moved-
because the timeline
Oh,
is
okay.
creeping up too much.
Oh, okay. Anyways, I still think I think it's too much of an ask without knowing what their financials are, but I do think it could be something good for the community.
I think what we also have to take into fact here is we're talking June, July, if we have a wildfire and the airport's full of helicopters, this event is over before it even starts. So you have to be careful when you're putting something at an airport, because emergency management takes over the control of the airport. Could be putting all of this money and everything in it, and all of a sudden it's stopped. And that happened with us with Airport Appreciation Day 2 years ago. We couldn't bring any planes in or have helicopter rides. And it kind of really just kicked us right then and there. But that's the rules. It's a chance we took. So we do have a mover and seconder.
If I could make a quick comment on the financials. This particular group, even though they were involved in past events, are a fresh group, so they don't have their history of financials. The report is that the last two events that were done by another titled group, with these people being involved, I guess from a racing perspective, that they lost money. So this particular group doesn't have anything other than their estimate of what it's going to take to put this on and their costs of investment as well, and prize money and things like that. So there's no history built yet.
Councillor Egan.
But we don't see, they should be able to give us some fair projections about, this time of year, how many drivers would be available, what it might attract. I think they could have put together a bit better of a presentation.
Yeah, they were expecting to work with us through this and help with this presentation and whatnot. If that was important, I guess, to bring them in here, we probably could have done that. It's pretty tough to put all that effort into it if we haven't scouted out the interest first to see, number one, if you're interested in not charging for the airport as a starting point, whether or not we get involved in a partnership is probably supplemental to that.
I still think he could have been
Oh, yeah.
here by Zoom and we could have asked some questions.
I think the other thing that we have to be careful, one of the reasons that we try to rent out the airport on certain events like motor events, is the fact that this puts stress on the runway itself. And if we end up damaging the runway, now we have a pretty large fix to fix that. So we have to be careful with that as well. So the rally cross is a lot different. They don't tend to sit in one spot and light their tires up, and that can happen here as well. So I'm just saying there are some costs that we're not aware of at this point. See, no, your light's still on. I have mover and secondaries. So you have it in front of you. So all those in favor? Opposed? Carried or defeated. What I would suggest is maybe they try a 1 day or an afternoon testing session to see what, it's not that we don't want the event, it's just right now, it's just too risky at this point for us to get into this, especially when we're asking the other groups to rent it, such as the autocross and everybody else. The minute we start doing that, then autocross is going to want theirs for free as well. So, we're trying to get some revenue for this community through our partnerships, our sponsors, and I think that's kind of where we need to stay. I was never a fan of the 3 year. I think they should try 1 year first and see how it goes, and then fix from their mistakes after that. Thank you, everyone. Moving on, 8.6, Stuix and NVIT Joint Project Initiative. We have a recommendation that council endorse the continued discussions with the Nicola Valley Institute of Technology, NVIT, regarding long-term maintenance of the Stuix Naturalization Project site following project completion in 2028. And further that, staff report back to council with a proposed agreement outlining roles, responsibilities, and financial implications. Councillor Petrosi, Councillor Olgan, questions from council on this? Councillor Charn.
I have a problem with this. I think that this should have been brought to staff before the Stewie project started. I see that they have $6.2 million as a budget, and the purpose of the Stewie is to provide space for high water and ice jam flows to dissipate. So in theory, I don't care how much money you put into it, even if you put $25 into it, high water comes through because that's the whole point of it. And it wipes out your $10, $25 that you put into it. If we're putting millions into this piece of property, and the water or the ice goes through there, what was our original investment for? If you want it to be naturalization, take the cement foundations that are there, leave it the way it is. I don't understand why this was not discussed years ago so that staff or city council knew the direction that this project was going in. It seems that now we're being asked to approve something right at the end. I don't know how many years it's been going on, but now we're being asked to fund something that we've had no input into before.
I believe the project was for 18 months. Yes, please come to the microphone, please. Mr. Strang, please come to the microphone and answer that question for us. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just clarification, there's a couple of things that we're talking about here. I also have Charlene, Joe here. This is kind of her project. So what we're really talking about in this particular council resolution is, thanks, Char, is the ongoing maintenance, potential ongoing maintenance of this particular area. We don't know what that looks like yet, but we're doing some future planning. So kind of like the last item on the agenda was, hey, bring this to us so that we can kind of get a taste for whether we want to have an event at the airport or not. This is, do we want to look at having a joint venture with NVIT for maintenance and obligation requirements, or do we want to look at the city taking the maintenance and obligation requirements? I think there's a good win, but it's not my call. It's council's call. And I will say, so differentiating the ongoing maintenance obligations, what we're asking here tonight is, would council like us to explore discussions with NVIT? Because NVIT has been very interested in having those discussions. The land remains with the city, but things like invasive weed control, management of the area, fire smarting, et cetera, would not be incurred by city public works staff. Furthermore, to address the specific question. So this was, I could go look back in records and get a much better answer, but this has come to, the Stewie project has come to council many times in the last 3 years. 3 years, something like that. So initially to get the grant, it's through Green Artem, which is a provincial granting fund. So it came to council with the general idea of purchasing 4 properties, putting naturalization project forward, and this council opted in favor of applying for that grant, receiving that grant. This project also came to council again during a terms of reference. So terms of reference was made up for the steering committee, of which the mayor, your worship, has seen, and Councillor Baxter has been involved fairly regularly, actually, I think at every single meeting. And so the terms of reference came to this council, and this council adopted and agreed to the terms of reference. And in that terms of reference was, hey, come up with a naturalization project, work with the engineers and see what this looks like. So there has been significant adoption by this council for the Stewie naturalization project. So where we're at right now, there is a conceptual design for the project. They're working through detailed design for the project, which that basically looks like plantings. As Councillor Charney says, this is a floodplain. So what kind of plantings do you do to accelerate the return to floodplain? This is exactly as you said, you're bang on, an ice jam area, a flood area, etc. What do you do in a naturalized area? Get rid of the debris, get rid of some of the invasive species, and make it a place where it's open to public, people can walk around, have a floodplain area. Did you have anything to add?
Yeah, so again, it is really going to be a naturalized area. We aren't doing very much construction on it, very little. And yeah, the steering committee just wants it to let it be and let the river do what it wants to do in that area. So we're giving it the room to do what it wants to do.
Okay. So question that I have for you on this, when the naturalization situation went forward, the city basically had a representative on that, but not a government-based representative, just a representative. Did we have buy-in from all 5 bands on this?
We had buy-in from four of the bands and then a city rep.
So are the 4 bands also ready to commit to what this naturalization will look like and be part of that if the city gets on board? Curious.
Yes, yeah, they would like to see it go to NVIT.
Okay.
Only because, one, it's, a First Nations college in our area that are supported by the 5 bands, and, it's helping the students.
Okay.
So it's going to be mostly used by environmental resources, but it's also open to the public schools, right? Because Meg O'Donovan, who is a teacher at MSS, brings her students there. So.
Councillor Charney.
I'm really lost here because you mentioned you were just going to have some trees and natural species. Why is it costing $6.2 million?
In terms of the budget for the project. So the budget for the project is a combination of engineering work, purchase of private properties in that, funding for steering committee, and of course the actual end construction, dike deconstruction of that temporary dike, etc. As much as I would love to say that I'm back in Alberta and we can just go in with bulldozers and build things, it's rather expensive to build things in BC, as I'm sure we've all seen from the flood mitigation work. I would love that to not be the case, but I'm fairly well up to speed on how much things cost to build in BC.
But we're asked to pass something and we don't have, we talked about the previous project, we had no financials. We have no idea of what it's going to cost to maintain either by ourselves or with partnership, this piece of land that could be potentially destroyed every year. So we don't have, you haven't provided any financials for us. Like how much do you need each year? What is it with partnership? I don't
That's a great question, Councillor Charney, through the mayor. Thank you very much. The purpose of this is for us to actually answer that question. That's the answer that we want to get. We can't get that answer for you until we go talk to another organization and see if they want to take over the maintenance. With what you're referring to is basically a maintenance and repair cost. So every single project that goes forward, be it the bridge, be it a diking section, be it this particular project, has a maintenance obligation manual. And so the city has the maintenance obligation manual for the Claybanks dike, for Seaman North, for the bridge, et cetera, and that gets folded into city general operations. That doesn't come across until detailed engineering is done. On this particular project, that'll be a few months from now. What we're looking to do is involve a third party so that they can be involved in the construction of the maintenance manual, and they can have a good idea of what they're signing up for, so that we can hopefully not only have a great partnership with somebody like NVIT in the community who can run their ecology classes there, but also reduce the future maintenance on city. What will that number be? I'm sadly not an engineer, so I don't know the answer to that, but we'd like to give that to you at the point in the future when we have those numbers. And that's really the second resolution here. Report back to council with proposed agreement outlining roles, responsibilities, and financial implications.
So to paraphrase here, right now, we're not being asked for any financial, anything. We're asking to move the NVIT so these costs and stuff can be calculated out and returned to us at a further date with this proper information.
Thank you for saying that in less words here.
There's no expense to the city at this point in time.
There's zero expense. I don't feel comfortable as a department head. So you as council have charged us as a department with building dikes. Once we're starting to talk about further maintenance obligations, deferring those, having a partnership with NVIT, we're a bit outside what I would consider our swim lane, which is why this is in front of you today, because this will outlive the 4-year dike construction period. This will be a partnership between NVIT and the city for maintenance of this land. I'm more than happy to use my time and my staff's time to guide this forward if the city wants to explore this type of partnership. But it's outside of my current mandate, which is why I'm here to you today to say, do you want to put it in our mandate as a department to talk to NVIT to explore a partnership or not? That's why we're here.
So for myself, if we move in this direction, then I would expect that we would have a city government representative involved with this group to have the city's input into it as well.
Informally, I'm also a taxpayer here.
Yeah.
So it's in my best interest as well, but certainly whenever we talk about ongoing maintenance obligations or ongoing inspection obligations, not only is Public Works head involved, but other city staff as well, that will outlast this particular department, because again, we dissolve once the dikes are complete.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Baxter.
I sit with this group and watch this project go, and it is a beautiful thing to watch all these bands. I've lived here my entire life, and I've never once seen the bands work so well together to keep a project moving forward, and all having an input and all respecting each other in a room and making sure that everybody knows what's happening with this project. I think this is a win for our city, and it's a perfect thing to show that our community is moving forward and we're all working together. I think it's beautiful, and I think good job.
Councillor Cherney.
I'll agree with what you've said there, Councillor Baxter, but why did we have no community members, large groups of community members on that committee also?
Well, we did have a city representative, which was Meg. That was part of the agreement. Yeah, that was part of, yeah. And I do believe that was the way it was constructed at that point in time.
The terms of reference that came to this council specified an optional representative from the city of Merritt and an optional representative from each of the 6 bands. I know we talked about 5 earlier, included, oh my God, brain fried. Thanks for really. We've included Cooksbury in this as well. So that came to to council through the terms of reference, and council has said, yes, this is an appropriate way to set up this steering committee. But your feel that is referring to.
Councillor Richard.
Being that we're not being asked for money, and of course, we want to have the area continue to look nice once it's completed in 2028. I think it would be ideal to have it looked after through the project with NVIT and with the long-term maintenance plan. I think would be good. Taking less, we need a plan. Something gets finished, and then we want it to continue to look nice without having a burden on Public Works. So.
And I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, but this is the first time this has been done in this country, is this not?
Yeah, so there's several firsts with this in terms of post-flood land acquisition plan, a first kind of joint-led steering committee. And this will be kind of a first city / university joint maintenance obligation for what this looks like. So we're treading a number of firsts on this. But again, I'm conscious of when we get out of our swim lane. I won't be here when this is done and when the maintenance obligations come to the city. I'll probably still be a taxpayer for the city. So I'm highly interested in making sure that we plan ahead. I don't want this to just spring up out of nowhere and for people to say, hey, why didn't you plan ahead? We're trying to get ahead of the ball on kind of one-off stuff like this.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, your worship.
Yes, yeah.
I think it's important, with what we've been talking about here, to focus on what it is that is being asked, which largely in the documentation that was provided, there are other organizations that could be considered for this, such as Ducks Unlimited. It could also be left with Public Works or somebody in the city to maintain this area. The benefit of getting the direction to try and move forward with the NVIT crowd is we have that local education overlap with getting things looked after, the cooperation in the valley as well, rather than potentially going to another outside national, organization like say Ducks Unlimited or something else. Somebody's going to have to look after this area. And what they're asking for largely is, would you like them to start having conversations more thoroughly with the NVIT to scope out what that's going to look like and bring the details back to you? Or would you like to see them talk to Ducks Unlimited? Do you want Public Works to try and look after it? That's sort of the level of questioning we're at right now, is scoping out what's going to happen in the future and getting your direction that that's where you want them to spend their time. Is that clear? Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 8.7, Recovery Operations Quarterly Report. Probably we'll wait till you're done there.
I'll stick out with this.
Recommendation that the April 9, 2026 report of the Communications Specialist entitled Flood Mitigation Department Quarterly Report to Mayor and Council be received for information. Councillor Petrosi, Councillor Baxter. It's coming in for information, so I'm not sure there's really if anybody has a question. It's just information. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you for that report. 8.8, 2026 Q1 report from Bailey House Visitor Information Center. Recommendation that the 2026 Q1 report from Bailey House House Visitor Information Center be received for information. Councillor Baxter, Councillor Olgan. Nice to see that the washrooms are still the main attraction. So, any questions on this? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And thank you for Bailey House for giving us their quarterly reports on time. We appreciate that. Purchasing policy. This item was considered by the Policy and Bylaw Review Committee on March 5th, 2026. Recommendation that council adopt the purchasing policy as attached to the April 1st, 2026 report of the Director of Corporate Services entitled Purchasing Policy Update. Councillor Olgan, Councillor Baxter. Any questions on this? All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Olgan.
I was reviewing both policies, the updated policy as well as the old policy. And I noticed that there was let me see here. That was in the old policy, any commitments made during the previous quarter that exceeded 100,000 were going to be reported to council. In this new policy, that was removed. Any rationale? Why?
Do you have any information on that? Because the ROSI consultant did this work under a different heading, correct? Yeah.
I feel like it would be beneficial for the staff to report any commitments made over 100. So that's the only addition that I would like to put into the policy.
Would you like to make that a friendly amendment? Go ahead.
Linda, help me.
Seal. What's your friendly amendment?
So-
Go ahead.
Oh, go right ahead.
According to the old policy, it was the Director of Finance and IT shall submit to council an information report detailing all the contracts commitments made during the previous quarter that exceeded 100,000, excluding taxes.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Petrosi. Any questions on the amendment? All those in favor? Opposed? Return to the original recommendation that has been amended, that council adopt the purchasing policy as attached to the April 1st, 2026 report of the Director of Corporate Services entitled Purchasing Policy Update. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Dress code policy. This item was considered by the Policy and Bylaw Review Committee on March 5th, 2026. We have a recommendation that council adopt the dress code policy as attached to the April 1st, 2026 report of the Director of Corporate Services entitled Dress Code Policy Update. Councillor Petrosi, Councillor Ogun, any questions on this? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Thank you for the policy committee for doing that work. Appreciate it. Well, here's some more. Municipal alcohol policy. This item was considered by the Policy and Bylaw Review Committee on March 5th, 2026. We have a recommendation that council adopt the municipal alcohol policy as attached to the April 1st, 2026 report of the Director of Corporate Services entitled Municipal Alcohol Policy Update. Councillor Baxter. Councillor Egan. Questions on that? Councillor Egan.
Okay, I have no, just looking through the redlined version of this, and the only thing you didn't change was Schedule A, and it's repeat special occasion license, and it should say special event permit. You changed it all through the policy except for in the schedule.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sue.
Thank you, Your Worship. A second set of eyes is always a good thing. So thank you for that, Councillor Egan. We can certainly make a friendly amendment if you would like
Yes.
to this and to make that one change.
Councillor Egan.
Please do so.
I'll second that. We will, any questions on the amendment? All those in favor? Carried. On the original recommendation, all those in favor? Carried. Nice catch. Appreciate that. Notices of motion. The following notice of motion was submitted on March 24th, 2026 regular council meeting by Mayor Getz. Recommendation that the zoning bylaw be referred to the Policy and Bylaw Review Committee to consider implementation of a limit of the number of cannabis retail stores in the city. This comes to you tonight because of the public meeting we had looking for a fourth store coming to the community. When I was on council back in the day, we did come to an agreement of 3 stores. We felt that was the right size for the community. That bylaw seems to have withered away. And I think this, I would like to see it reset at 3. I think that, once we hit the population of 15,000, it might be time to look at another 1 or 2. But at this point in time, especially when we're looking at a store that wanted to relocate here that has 75 stores in a chain, would be putting our locals out of business in a very short amount of time. So not only is this gives the situation that we are able to keep the 3 running, but we also protect the local investment in our community. So I would like to see this referred to the Policy and Bylaw Committee so they can set the policy where we should see it. Councillor Regan.
I don't think it needs to go to policy. I think we can make that decision right here and right now.
CO, are we able to, or should it go, because it's being referred to policy, do we?
Thank you, Your Worship. This would be a zoning bylaw amendment, so there is a process for that. So a bylaw would be written, but you can certainly direct staff to start preparing the bylaw if that's what you would like the resolution to say instead.
So we will do that. We'll make that recommendation. Now, that's a friendly amendment. And as the mover, I'll go with that. Any questions on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment? Passed. The recommendation, all those in favor? Those carried. Thank you. Reports from council. Oh, sorry, is there any other notice of motion? Reports from council, Councillor Baxter.
I went to the Nicola Valley Transportation Society meeting on April 9th and they would like their bench back. And then I went to the career fair at the Civic Center today and it was really good.
Thank you, Councillor Charney.
Well, this wasn't in our community, but I was in Courtney for a week with my grandson and I saw a fantastic water restriction sign It has LED lights on for each level. So I passed on a picture to the CAO and the mayor. And, you know, I don't know, maybe CAO, someone in our public works can help build it. I mean, it doesn't look that difficult to me, you know, between the expertise there and Second Avenue signs, maybe we could make our own, but it's a really great sign. It's got LED lights for each level. I was very impressed. Anyway. And then on May 10th, I met with a couple community residents, seniors, the president of the Senior Society and our CAO. There was a request to use a portion of the seniors outdoor facility to build a garden for food sustainability for seniors. The project was a little larger than the space available, so the CAO presented different options to these community members, and I think they greatly appreciated that. After that meeting, I attended the seniors monthly meeting. And so what's going on with the seniors? There's a crib tournament this Saturday and raising money for any of the seniors that are going to be participating in the senior games, BC Senior Games in September. As mentioned before, they're recovering their chairs. It's all done by seniors, and little discrepancy in when they're going to be finished. Someone says October and someone says January. So we'll have to see. And there's a musical afternoon, April 26th. So if you like music and some dancing, gee whiz, I think it's $1 or $2 to attend. Anyway, it's April 26th, 2 to 5. And I did talk to the chief. On the news tonight, there was an accident down in the coast with regards to a electric vehicle. They couldn't put the fire out on the electric vehicle because they put water on it. The battery just kept flaring up. So they used an EV blanket. So I wanted to ask Chief if Merritt has an EV blanket, and we do.
Yes.
So that's great. So that's all I have to report.
Our fire department is always, they're always on it. Councilor Petrosi.
April 2nd, I attended the police committee meeting with Mayor Getz and Councillor Etchart, Staff Sergeant Rhoda and Sergeant Pruderborough. And they're 200 falls ahead of last year, their count. Another report, they had 100 more calls on the highway as their area boundary is extended to Surrey Lakes. So they used to have an agreement with Logan Lake. Logan Lake would take that area for calls on the highway, but Merritt is now taking calls to Surrey Lakes. So a few more calls out on the highway. Also, the police have a new app. It's called Health IM, and it's a new program, and it's immediate access to mental health issues when dealing with someone with mental health. Before they used to have to get on their computer and look at previous files with this individual. Now they can actually get it right now with this new app on their phone. Just an update on body worn cameras. I guess they're still working on it, and possibly later in the year, this year, they may start wearing body worn cameras. And earlier today, I also attended the career fair at the Civic Center, and I brought some goodies from there. So that's it.
Councilor Logan.
So April 8th, I attended the Rotary Club, and April 9th, I attended the food bank. I feel that I cannot say enough about the food bank. So what they do in the financial hardship they are experiencing, I guess it's not only Merritt. I guess it's every food bank across British Columbia. It's sad to see the help they are providing in the community, but their limited revenue streams that they have. Like I'm been thinking, how can we help? How can I help this organization? So I encourage you, if you have a spare $5, so just donate to the food bank. Thank you.
Councilor Egan.
Thank you. I don't have a lot to report except that I've been approached by a couple of different groups. One again being the one of the players from one of the slow pitch teams that's still they don't understand what's happening with the reasoning for us taking 50% of the signage or the other things. I've tried to explain to them. They and they do understand once they're explained to, but the explanations aren't being passed down by the leaders of the specific groups to their members. So if you could remind them to do that, because it's causing infighting already.
So that agreement was done between the city and the executive of
Mhm.
softball. And it's been well received. And CAO, you've met with the president. Do you want to touch base on that, where we are on that?
Yes, thank you, Worship. The meeting that Dave Zackel and I had with the president netted out with a general understanding that we would work with the policy the way it is for this year. We would take the time to review at the end of the year and bring back recommendations that have been discussed through the group and the city for what works and what doesn't, and make recommendations for change at that point. So that's where we left it. Let's try it the way it is for the year and work on improvements if necessary in the fall.
I understand that. And I'm sure you and Mr. Zackel and perhaps the chair of that committee all understand that, but they're not letting their membership know. And that's where the issue lies.
That would be up to the executive of that group to, it's not up to us to put the message. I mean, we put the message out best we can, but that needs to be translated by the executive and the president.
Well, maybe
of that association.
communications could do something, say something.
We probably could, but this is, this is, the softball association is not asking for that. So they haven't approached us on any of that. They agreed to a situation. And it's up to them to relay that to the message to their people. They've agreed to this.
Okay.
They have.
Okay, I understand that, but their membership don't. So,
Well, again,
you know,
we can't hold hands all the time. So the point of the matter is they settled on the agreement. It's up to them to now to preach it to their people.
okay. And some of the people from that you would call the stakeholders of the people being affected by the dikes have expressed real feelings of being disrespected by council. And I think because they were never approached for their input. And even now, sometimes with the way the diking is being presented to them, apparently doesn't, once the staff, I guess the people from Public Works go out, they say, oh, this looks so different than when you look at it on a map. So they're feeling disrespected, and obviously their voices have not been given any concern. And so I just think that as council, we owe those people some respect to hear them.
And I do believe that's why we've had Keystone involved in that whole process. They've been all met and it's worked on from there. So I think that conversation, that's not a report from council. That's more of a query that probably we should address openly when Mr. Sean is not here, is gone.
I have spoken with Mr. Strang before about this, and he told me, he basically shut me down by saying that the money we got for the diking was not specifically for the stakeholders, was for the diking, and I can't really say right now the rest of his comment.
Okay, duly noted. Anything else? Nope. Councillor Etcher.
Well, I have a much more boring comments to say. No, March 25th, I was at the Phelan Housing Society meeting. It's kind of fun to have a little community-run housing society that's not really backed by Ask or some big company. We have a nice little waiting list, and funny enough, Councillor Charney was addressing that the seniors group was having gardens, and we were actually getting raised beds there. So maybe they need to get together and plant some stuff together. Maybe have a little craft fair there in their little open room. I was at the police committee meeting with Mayor Getz and Councillor Trozy. And one other piece that they mentioned in the meeting is that looks like they should come in a little bit under budget this year because we don't have, I think there's 14 of the 17 positions were funded. So that's positive because anything else can go into the reserve. And then went to the community Easter egg hunt to see how well attended that was. And so many families really appreciate all the efforts that the city put on. So thank you to the staff for organizing that. It was great. Nice comments. People were happy and it was well attended. And on the 9th, I went to the museum committee meeting, and that is coming up on its 50th anniversary next month. And so there should probably be some celebration and different events happening at the museum. And there's all sorts of information and photos that we can probably find, maybe some embarrassing photos of previous mayors or something. Maybe of Mayor Mike here, you never know. Never know. Or maybe of previous teachers. No, you never know. So I encourage anybody to go have a tour of the museum. There's lots of different information pieces that you can find there that you might find interesting. And yeah, so I think that's it. Oh, and I didn't make it to the Crime Choppers meeting, but they're always having activities happening and they're encouraging bike rodeo happening for Canada Day and different things. And I think Volunteer Week is coming up in May, so there could be some things happening with the museum was putting it out there as well. So anyway,
Thank you.
Still working as a volunteer. Yeah.
Myself, March 25th, 26th, I was at TNRD. 27th, I met with the recovery operations team. I sit on the chair of the 5 mayors that are trying to approach the federal government and the Prime Minister about the Canada corridor, which he has talked about keeping open, which continually gets closed every time it rains and Abbotsford goes under. So we're moving forward on that. We've got a letter going to Mike Farnsworth, and we've asked for letters of support. So we're moving on that. We have a meeting next week to finalize as we head off to FCM. Met with a group of people from the Thompson-Nicola Film Commission. They were touring Merritt for film sites. They were looking to use some of the sites in this building and sites around here for a very interesting movie that's going to be shot in and around the area with a high profile star that they can't tell us who it is. But anyways, there you go. On the 30th, Mako and their contractors, we hosted a meeting here for them to get back into action. Mako is now back on track. They're looking to be finished hopefully by the end of June, July, somewhere around there. So it's nice to see them back in action. On the 31st, I attended a Zoom youth, children and youth Zoom conference call. It was really informative about some of the issues that are happening with children and youth in the community and in the province. So there were some very good professional people there, and it was really, really well done. On the 31st, from 5:30 to 8:30, CO Linda Brick and I attended a thing up at the NVIT called No Fixed Address, and it's a documentary on street living, mainly focused in Kelowna. And it had to do, they call it the White Cart Project. I do believe it's on YouTube if you'd like to have a look at it. And it's an interesting documentary. It was done well. There's a local that is involved with it, and it was a really nice documentary. On the 2nd of April, I had Taylor Morrison's grade 1 tour come through. They were just a blast, and you saw the letters from them. And some of them are pretty interesting. Everybody wants a pool hall in grade 1, apparently. So it's interesting. It's always fun to have them come through. They've got some great questions, and they're a lot of fun to see kids of that age. Of course, on the 7th, the RCMP committee meeting. On the 13th, yesterday, I attended a thing called Resiliency Through Art, put on by the YMCA. And this is way out of my realm. This is more not my realm. This is where you open yourself up and express your feelings while you're drawing something. Well, I can't draw worth a hoot, but anyway, it was interesting. There was, I think, 25 of us there. I was the only guy in the whole place. So it was interesting, but really not in my comfort zone. But I enjoyed it. It was well done. And then today, I met with the No Fixed Address production crew because I did have a question about the White Cart project in the documentary, and it was focused mainly on grief. The whole thing was on grief, people losing people, kind of no way out. And I was concerned that, is this where we're leaving this with no, like, is there no hope for these people? Now, I've been confirmed by the production crew that this is the first of 4. And they will then move on to show some of these people getting help and moving on and going on from there. And the reason that they wanted it focused on grief is because that's what they wanted everybody to feel as they watched it. Now, I don't know on CAO's part, but on my part, it was grief from start to finish, and it really was. But it was well articulated by the campers, and it was really interesting to see on the last shot when they pulled out with a drone, and there's a, I'm going to say almost a half a quarter kilometer of tents all along, and as it pulls back, right behind it is the Grand and the multi-billion-dollar waterfront with all the boats and everything, and then here's this encampment right there. So I'm glad to see that the production crew will be moving forward over the next few years with some more of that, so we can see what that looks like. But that's it for me, Councillor Egan.
Yeah, I just had a question. I'm glad that you, on your point with Mako starting up again, because there was a rumor going around town, the rumor mill does turn, suggesting that with FIFA coming, Vancouver is shipping more homeless into our area, and that building was earmarked as a housing place for them.
No, you know, there is, I'll be honest with you, Councillor Egan, there is the sentiment around, I mean, this happened with the Olympics. They cleared out the community. Some people feel it's happening again. We are definitely seeing a rise. We are. I've had a phone call or two saying, hey, I've seen a van or a bus load. And then I explained to them what happens when we have a shelter. Shelter BC is allowed to bring people here to that shelter. I've asked for them to get video of it so we can actually see that this is happening. So it is a rumor, and until it's, but we are definitely in the police committee meeting, we are seeing more people in town, and it's a fact. Now, is it a fact because they're cleaning out for FIFA? Well, it happened for the Olympics, so there's a possibility it could be happening again. So you're probably not wrong on that. But until we get some sort of confirmation that that's actually happening, at this point in time, we just have to keep our peepers open and keep looking.
I just wanted it to be brought up that the Mako building is not going to be used.
No, not at all. No, there has been, to be honest with you, there has been a contractor in the Mako building and security since the production stopped, because they've been working on the inside, the drywall and everything. I drove by it today. It's now fully electric. It's complete. The lights are all on inside, and they're moving forward. They received a grant, and the government is, it's one of the projects that the Premier has earmarked to move forward. So we definitely are moving forward. We will be working with Community Futures Nicola Valley and any other group about a job fair here in the next little while. So that'll be happening as well. So we're on the way for completion. Anything else? I think that's it. So let's move on. I'd give you my gas buddy, but who knows? I mean, I see we've got 2 blockades at the Strait of Hormuz now, so who knows? So we have reports from council, which is done. CAO report is in your deal there, the non-gigantic one. We have the March RCMP update, the communications report, and council resolutions. Anybody have any questions on those? We also have informations items, the fun letters from the kids from Bench Elementary, and the Melanoma and Skin Cancer Awareness Month. When I get these, I let people know that we no longer do letters of support, but we do announce it in council because we no longer do those kind of, we don't make it whatever we want to call it, a proclamation. We don't do that anymore. So I let them know that it'll be in our council agenda so people can see it. So, Councillor Charney.
I have to mention these letters from the students at Bench Elementary. I think they're extremely well done. And I can see us, I don't know what a Jump 360 is. I don't have a clue.
So
but it's quite popular.
If you go to Kamloops and you go to the Value Village, just down from it is a jump park. It's trampolines. The whole thing is a trampoline.
Oh, so to the trampoline park and the Jump 360 are the
It's the
same?
same thing. It's just, this one is called Apex, but it used to be called Jump 360.
Okay,
So I take my granddaughter there all the time. They have an absolute charge in there.
okay.
It's a gigantic rubber room for children.
So that seemed to be the big thing.
Yes.
The Jump 360, the trampoline park, climbing wall, and a Costco. Now I can get into the Costco. Probably not.
So I have to burst their bubble and let them know that the city doesn't build those kind of things. That comes from people who want to invest here, but it's up to the city to try and get those groups to come
But
to our
I
community.
did like it when they called you Mr. Clean
Yes.
and us the Clean Council. I
Yeah.
thought that was very good.
I was actually shocked that we had a bunch of grade ones that wanted a pool hall.
These are grade 1 letters.
Well,
Must be
our
mums.
arcade pool hall with a cigarette machine, the whole bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Counselor.
I think it would just be funnier if they want to call you Mr. Clean, it would be funnier if they called you like they do in Spanish. Say, Don Limpio.
I like that.
It sounds classier.
Yeah, wait,
Let's call you Don Limpio instead. Yeah, but
well, I like the one letter where he said, "My teacher tells me that I'm an exceptional student. She wrote this for me." At least he was modest about it. Anything else? Closed session, recommendation that this meeting be closed to the public pursuant to section 91E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements. If the council considers that this disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality of the community charter. Councillor Hogan, Councillor Etchart, all those in favor? 5 minutes, close